Here we are in the grand conspiracy of life, as it is. On the political minute, I think this presidency is going to be known for a lot of stuff out there with it, and a lot of grand conspiracies. One of the biggest conspiracies I can say of is how the Kyle Rittenhouse situation, um, especially from eighth grade or anything else, is not looked at as completely since I went to an eighth grade training middle school, with some of the major incidences where they're all around yelling and screaming and chattering, not whispers and stuff or anything else in little alcoves, but the middle of the class, and how it's not the same in every single format as a lynching and looked at it as the same as a lynching. The other grand conspiracy for everything out there, and I will say this is a foreign national incident with Kyle Rittenhouse. I know I'll get more flack from it. Maybe I'll actually get a bad comment because at least I get to banter back and forth, and it's like, thought y'all wanted the last word. I can say it's a foreign national situation, but how the lawyers acted, and I'd say that they're probably foreign national people. The first ones he had that he fired were there as a plant, and there's a strategy because we have so much with common good that we just do not want to believe that someone would come here as a foreign national espionage agent to be somehow in an area and instantly get that, build up everything and have it set up for 15, 20 years out there for it, and even just come here and be a homeless person who constantly is recruiting into homeless area for destabilization through drugs and everything else, and basically be like a middle management to not the GM but the upper management of a McDonald's. People don't really realize the strategy that foreign nationals have. China still respects us in so much, as well as Russia always did, Britain and the others, especially those that were in World War II with us in World War I. Our big, we mingled with them a lot. So they want to be like, America's so good, it's so tough, so we want to infiltrate the top level and everything else, and it'll crumble from the top down, which is almost impossible. You can't tap the pyramid on top. It's just that one place that'll make it all crumble. You can make it crumble to death by going through the base of it, and it won't ever be rebuilt. I'm just saying, this is where the grand conspiracy to me shows up in the Kyle Rittenhouse situation. And I'm going to do this other thing where it's like the grand conspiracy is, no matter what, we were talking about making a ritualistic human sacrifice with Kyle Rittenhouse, with a guy who, in every way, shape, and form, is exactly the type of person down here in the South that would be Mussolini, and doing things from back in, if you watch the History Channel, Faces of Hate. And me being around and them doing mock stuff to me or coming over and grabbing on my leg and being like, oh, I just pulled the strip off, and I'm psychically eating it. I got it from the Japanese. Because we have so many of them from World War II around here. And the rest of the time they just ask me to have wild, crazy sex with them so they can, have the fetus scraped out of them. And honestly, I think you should teach it to your kids. But whatever. Got to make sure you're stingy with the man juice, like Mancow says. Now, moving on from here, they nearly took all the weapons away from the civilian population and everything else with that trial. Somehow, miraculously, it didn't. And it's like, well, the citizenry does kind of have to give up their weapons at the National Guard if there's some state of emergency or something called in. The police can't take over a civilian checkpoint saying, I have a business, I require you to walk through a metal detector, or else there's a scanning thing for shoplifting. Can't take that checkpoint over. And then force the place to give you whatever their minimum wage is on top of their salary. They also can't carry their weapons in or anything else. And just because it's a checkpoint, they don't have to have a person there. Now, if it's a National Guard checkpoint, they have to have a representative there under Tennessee state law. If it is a checkpoint that they've set up that's an actual real checkpoint, they actually have to do that. Now, moving on to the Ahmaud Arbery killing. This is one that I'm like, this is like a generational thing where they had their kids born here. I've had people hack into the house, especially from this one group, the McManuses up the road, that have bragged to me all their lives to my face over everything, gone on about everything, about how I've played with the whoever it is, and I've lived with them all their life. They've came up here to a place, and it's like, oh, and Dusty Weaver on the police has even chimed in with them because he goes to their police bank battery since Nikki got on the police, and her husband has family in Oak Ridge Police and is with Church Highway 33. And they've gone on in this past thing, since I watched the 60 Minutes thing, here's Colin playing with some McDaniels people, or McNichols, whoever the plaintiff was that got charged with murder and convicted. And honestly, I think it should go to federal court and be considered espionage under the grand conspiracy situation here against the USA and recolonization. Especially since so many people are out there saying that this nation was founded on Christianity. The only nation that was founded on Christianity was the British colonial system, the Spanish colonial system, French, Roman colonial system, and the Portuguese colonial system that we all had to defeat, basically in little mini wars after 1781. When Cornwallis surrendered. Now, going on with this, most of these happened in the South and in areas such as there. And then politically, the French were the last ones here because they were all separatists. And then they went back because they would never serve an elvish king. Which, in a way, we probably caused the death of George Washington's sixth cousin, who was the King of France, who was 80ness. Now, the Ahmaud Arbery, I will say I did play vaguely with somebody, and even Dusty Weaver and them on their little police officer thing that has a bad bug since he was thrown out and just wanted to learn whatever he could. Sure, he's gotten a 16-hour thing again and doesn't realize where all of his stuff is and the bad equipment that he's left. Sometimes certain things ring off of a piano. Simple harmonics. Never put a bug in a musical instrument, ever. We're not burning the piano. I know we're not here enough, but you'll be removing it. And then they can all say it's white privilege again. But Ahmaud Arbery, the people that were there, yes. There were some people that were with the Mussolini family. They would appear probably as dark as Ahmaud or a little bit lighter. Made me have to go around the entire park, talk with them. They never talked back to me. And I had to walk around the entire place with someone with the same last name. Did they resemble them? Guy had on a beard. That's about as close to any type of resemblance. That being said, unless they bring the videotape forward, this is what I think happens here. And if they do bring the videotape and it's the same people in it, they're connected to ISIS and the Taliban, but not Al-Qaeda, which is why they went to jail. They knew about the citizen arrest law. They knew about people protecting their neighborhoods. They have been working and whipping up the neighborhoods in organized, weaponized racism. They have gone out there and they have purposely hunted down the situation, learned police officer drills, and in a way, if I was watching it, I've actually watched numerous police officers reenact exactly how they do to say they had no choice. and to say I had to learn what 50 yards was under natural restraining order because they always hit 100%. So they're Mussolini on the police force. They were supposed to be removed in the 1980s and never allowed to stay here after they finished their prison sentences. They were allowed to have children and everything else. All this stuff is legally true. The United States just will not enforce it. And will probably just try and push for a civil war somehow. And at that point, they'll say that they're a federalist pastor over a group of devout Christians that will never give up who they are. They will have a confederacy underneath them. And looking at it, this is the easiest way to remove any citizens from defending their homes in South Georgia or anything else, and would make a civilian invasion fleet absolutely useful in coming across, whether it's black or white, which they do come in all colors, shapes, and sizes. And whoever they can impersonate and represent will march across through probably southern Georgia, just outside of Savannah, and taking over all the little towns, and will make a strike that will be no different than what is considered New York City with the World Trade Center bombings. The first one with the fertilizer truck, and the second one with the planes and stuff, and make their way all the way in. And they'll say, "Oh, go to Atlanta," but they're going to go directly to the heartland. I think they will come through Texas. They will really mess up a lot of Texas. They will go through basically what is the Muscle Shoals area throughout Tennessee and those backwoods areas, because there's really nobody in Georgia unless you're in Atlanta. They'll go through the central woodlands down through Louisiana, through the Big Brushy, where they've lots of people have bragged to me over at Walmart to my face, when they actually, before they learned how to have an iPhone and carry a computer around and hack everything. And they'll go through the Big Brushy, where they've had training at for serial killing and body dumping and disposal. Basically, the Big Brushy is nothing more than a bunch of paper companies and public lands that runs all the way down the border zones of the states of Georgia and everything else to the swamplands around Savannah. Nobody lives there. Everybody goes camping, so long as you know basic survivalist skills and can carry 50 pounds of rice with you, with 3 pairs of clothing to change into, and wash them before you put them in the rice bag, and have 6 or 7 people with you. You're totally taken care of. Easiest SEAL team maneuver, or wannabe SEAL team maneuvers ever heard of. In certain times of the year, all you got to worry about is mosquitoes and leeches. Then going straight over through there, you're in Oklahoma and everything else. Now, the Ahmaud Arbery killing will take every gun away from any citizen. It will take you away from defending your own house. It will take you away from filing, he was on the property. He was there looking around. Technically, while you want to say that it's loitering, loitering has to mean that you're casing it for a crime. Loitering is something people just say so they can continue any type of investigation a lot. And it does happen in the Southeast a lot. But he never took anything. The guy said he didn't take anything. There's no trespassing signs up. A lot of people walk into houses, try and figure out how they're made and everything else. I would honestly say the most suspicious looking couple, if I could see in their face, was the couple that walked in there. And I was like, the girl, not so much, but the guy, I would seriously just want to get like a full frontal, whatever it is, and run them against a bunch of facial recognition stuff over here in the Knoxville, especially southwestern and southern Knox County areas and the bordering counties there. Even if there's one to go, it's got a mile before it touches like Rome. I would really want to check that out. Because if that's true, there's a connection to some World War II criminal families around there that they say half the words that the people that were arrested and convicted say and do. Actually, they don't even say half the words. They say like 2 poignant 5-word sentences and people just pick up on it and go, yes, it's right. Granted, I'm probably overreacting. You can't really see the face, body shape, and profile, and the walk and the way that they're holding arms and hands with each other without the girl leaning her head on the guy's shoulder. But again, that's profiling. The Ahmaud Arbery case, I think these were embedded agents for a long time, and they had to get everything out. They saw how the Kyle Rittenhouse thing went, and they go, F word. Whatever it is in their network said F word, went directly back to them, and they have to go and do this. To take the guns out of black people's hands, and then defending their own property. To take the guns out of every brown person's hand, and then defending their own property. And yes, to take the gun out of every white person's hand, and then defending their own property. And the most that they'll ever be able to say is, we know our neighbors now, so we can die peacefully in a happy community. Must be reborn in heaven. I don't care. You can cite the Garden of Gethsemane at me all the time. God wanted you to defend yourself. This is a grand conspiracy, and I will say, I don't care. I felt him hit me right there in the back, on the backside with a mosquito ring. I've got nickel and other bumps coming up on my shoulders here, and my tendons and ligaments are almost gone in this one, and it's always, watch it. You can sit there and be like, I'm as crazy as, Alex Jones. But there comes a point where, it's not in stereo. It's not all around you, all encompassing from the bottom of the thing to everything. And if it was, it wouldn't be shaking you and vibrating you like you were being lifted up. You could even say that it came right out of the time clock thing and hit me right through there, and I just feel it like it opens up on the back. This is rather ridiculous. And while I would love to go on with some other conspiracy theories with the White House and stuff, I'm going to cut this one right here and end it. Hopefully you have a wonderful night. I know no one's going to like and subscribe to this, but here we go.